I'm Mike Boris, and this is Straight Talk.
James Magnussen, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Talk, mate. It's good to see you. 1 year ago, exactly to this day, 1 year ago, you were sitting in that chair, and you're a skinny little bloke, not little, tall, but you're a slightly smaller than you are right now. I'm looking at your biceps, and you nearly broke my hand when you showed my hand out the front there. I don't know if you did it on purpose. I feel like you want to go challenge me in an arm wrestle or something like that. I feel like you're like really small and everything sitting here alongside you because I saw a photograph of you yesterday. I think it was yesterday. You might have put it up on your Instagram, but you had your skins on, swimming skins, but it was like a sort of like a sawn off version of skins, like it was like a sleeveless type thing.
Yeah.
And your fucking lats and shit were hanging out through the back, and it was weird, man. Like it was huge.
Yeah, that photo or that footage seems to have gone pretty viral over the past couple of weeks. I think the photo I put up yesterday of that's had 3 million hits in 24 hours.
Whoa.
So people are eating it up. The most common message I get, I'm getting all these guys in my inbox. What was your stack? What were you taking? How do I look like that?
Well, we're going to get into it because
we'll get there.
I'm looking to find it. So let's just recap a little bit. So what do you weigh now?
Right now, I've got back from America and I've been trying really hard to get my body weight right down.
Oh, so okay. Let's say when you had the event and you tried out to break the world record.
At my peak, I was about 115 kilos at 6% body fat on a DEXA scan, which is super accurate.
So, and what were you when you sat here a year ago?
Probably about 100.
So, like we're talking about 15 kilos.
15 kilos, yeah.
Peak,
and that was I was a lot leaner there as well than I was last time I was on here.
So, and if I could just ask you, how did you feel? That's how you looked. That's how you weighed. But how did you feel?
In the water, I felt 115 kilos. On land, I felt like a juggernaut, which was this really interesting balancing act that we were trying to get right. And being the first swimmer to openly do this, there was no textbook that said, this is the power to weight ratio you need. This is the point of no return where you're too big, too heavy, too much drag. Because swimming is a very unique thing in that, you want to be like a speedboat going through the water. When you got these massive lats and shoulders hanging out of this suit, it in the end proved to be a little bit too much drag. But on land, I felt like a juggernaut. I was waking up each day, so much energy. I had a 50-inch vert jump. I could squat 230 kilos. I could bench press almost double my body weight. Like I was a juggernaut on land, but it didn't fully transfer the way we anticipated at times into the water.
Because I remember when you were in the Olympics and winning world championships, medaling in the Olympics. I remember watching you in one race because I'm a swimming fan, and one of the observations I remember watching you, and I remember also seeing people like Phelps, etc., similar. You were broad, but sort of thin, and not much legs.
Yeah,
not much in the legs. Long legs, but not much in the legs. And you I used to think to myself, unscientifically, but in a biomechanical sense, I used to think you sort of sat on the water. You sort of planed on the water a bit.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, when you build a lot of muscle, a lot of weight, whether that translates to more displacement.
Yeah. So there was certainly a tipping point. And what we found basically I started the protocol and I started full-time training. So I came out of retirement and just went full bore into
what you would consider full-time training for an Olympic event?
Yes.
That level?
That level, yeah. Twice a day. I actually was doing twice a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
No rest days.
It's probably more than...
Probably more. It's more than your body should be able to do. And I had this really steep progression of swim speeds increasing, strength is increasing, athleticism is increasing, energy is increasing, but body weight is increasing at the same time. However, to a point that didn't matter because everything was tracking upwards. And then what we found was there's certainly an ideal period of time to make the most of a protocol, which is why athletes get caught in competition. I always thought, these athletes test positive in competition. Surely if you were cheating, you'd do it better than that. Surely you wouldn't be on anything. Time. Yeah, but it turns out that you really do need to be peaking on race day with your protocol, but also with your training. And we kind of got to this point probably 10 weeks into the protocol where I was hitting my absolute peak. I was right on world record
10
pace
weeks.
in training.
Right.
And we're in training. We're going, let's do this thing. That was about Christmas time. The problem was we were filming the documentary. It wasn't ready to go yet. We couldn't find a pool to race in. We had to book out a whole aquatic center for 7 days, deck it out with cameras and lights and officials, and everyone had to sign NDAs to say that they wouldn't talk about this record attempt. And in that time, so about Christmas time, I'm flying. I'm big, but I'm flying, which is the main thing. I'm probably about 108 to 110 kilos. I don't end up racing until the last week in February. So you're talking about another
6 weeks or 8 weeks.
8 weeks, yeah, 8 weeks, maybe just longer. And in that period, my weight keeps tracking upwards, but suddenly my performance starts going in the inverse. It starts tracking downwards. And by the time we got to that attempt in Greensboro, we were kind of looking at each other going, like, we know based off what's been happening in training, we're not there right now. But this has all been part of the journey. We got to have a crack at this record while we're here. I'm forever an optimist, so I said, let me at it. I still want to go for it. But now what I've got, which was the first documented process of a protocol of training of an athlete, a 34-year-old athlete, I know exactly what to do next time for the actual enhanced games.
So, and the enhanced games aren't until next year.
May next year,
Yeah,
1 year from.
So you will
now.
start. We'll come back to that in a second. I want to understand from your point of view, because there's been a lot of talk about it. Like I see current Olympians, lots of other past Olympians, particularly in swimming, sort of saying this is terrible and blah blah blah, and
Yep.
it's encouraging people to do all sorts of things.
Mm.
Let's just cast aside or park the morality of it. Let's call it morality or the ethical sort of side of it. Just park it for a second.
Yeah.
Because be honest, I don't want to get into it because I think every man to himself. You make your own decisions what you do with your own body. That's my view.
Yeah.
If it's not being deleterious, if it's not dangerous to a person, then it's fine. It's only where it's dangerous to a person or it is cheating, and everyone you're competing against are doing the same thing. It's not cheating.
Yeah.
But if I could just put that aside for a moment, do you see this whole process as an experiment?
I think I did at first. Now I see it as a separate industry, and I think actually the wording and the promotion of the enhanced games now has changed quite drastically from we're a disruptor, it's us versus the Olympics, to we're a whole new world. We're this bigger, brighter, faster, stronger industry, which is backed by the anti-aging industry, I guess, and that's I believe going to become the biggest industry in the world. We're backed by some of the most successful individuals in the world who haven't had many misses in business over the years, and they're not getting into this because they want to get into a sporting event. They're getting into this because they see it as a whole new world, a new industry. Things start with sport and they filter down into general population. So when people start saying to me, but the Olympics, but the kids, but this, I'm like, this is not for kids. This is not in competition with the Olympics. View this as a new product. This is completely separate. We're no longer comparing ourselves to the Olympics.
It's like a study, though. They're using athletes to study the effects of enhancements, whatever, and we'll go through the enhancements in a moment. But molecular enhancements, what effect does it have on athletes? How can they improve?
Yeah.
And how can we? And correct me if I'm wrong. Can we translate that to say me?
Correct. And how do we break down that stigma? Because I remember growing up, I would take creatine from probably 13 years of age. I've had it every day of my life till today. Now I watch all this content. Creatine's the new super drug. It's this crazy thing. This cognition and I'm going,
women especially.
Yeah. And I'm going, well, no biggie. Like this has been around in sport for years. Some of the peptides and things that are being used now, I mean, don't like to bring up the past, but the Cronulla Sharks and Essendon were using them back in 2016. Things have been around, but they take time to filter down into general population. What I think enhanced will do, the games, the athletes, the data, the research, it will speed up that process, that speed to market for consumer products in that world, and it'll break down the stigma by showing, and I'm the first one to openly and honestly do it now, and I can show people my data, talk about my experiences, but most importantly, talk about my health and what I did, and
How you feel?
yeah, probably more importantly, didn't feel,
Yeah.
the side effects that I didn't get.
So you didn't grow a third nipple or a third
I still
ball.
got my hair for now.
Yeah.
I don't have any acne. I'm not angry. I haven't got a hairy back. All these scary
Yeah,
things
you
that we
got-
were told
still
about.
still got two nuts.
Still got two nuts.
You don't have
Yeah.
a third.
Yeah, all these scary things that we were told about, and within reason, when you look back at education, there's a lot of things that we're told about, a lot of different substances to scare us off from using them.
Or it's sort of to some extent the establishment trying to stop us from doing anything that they would not, or that they haven't already endorsed for the last 100 years. And like penicillin was probably something that was an issue when it first got discovered. COVID's a good example of all this. Like we were sort of battered into submission with, historical information about what you do when there's a period when you could just lock yourself down. And I got friends who were saying ivermectin was the thing you should be taking,
Yeah.
along with vitamin D,
Yep.
and along with vitamin D, doxycycline, which is a well-known antibiotic, and zinc.
Yep.
All of a sudden, vitamin D is now the big deal.
Yeah.
Everyone says, like, take vitamin D.
I love it.
Ivermectin's still being flicked. It's still a little bit because the big farmers don't like it,
Yeah.
because they're the ones who want to come up with the viral drugs that you take when you've got, say, COVID. What does this reveal to you about the pharmaceutical world? Governments, how governments try to control things. What does this reveal to you as a former athlete, but now someone who's gone down this path?
I think it's quite eye-opening, the products that are out there, some of the research that has been done on these products, but behind the scenes, the ease of access of these products. In America, I was able to go into an anti-aging clinic, work with a doctor, get prescribed everything that I needed for the games. There was no issue. If I was here in Australia, I mean, I'm sure I could, if I looked hard enough, find someone, but it's not easily accessible. And so I was quite surprised at the different opinions or different views on this industry between the US and Australia. I was actually quite surprised, and it was a bit of a jolt of reality when I came back and saw how the media in Australia reacted to the enhanced games. It was, I was over in the US doing interviews with the New York Times, the Washington Post, the BBC, some of the biggest publications in the world. And they're sending their top political reporters, their top science or pharmaceutical reporters and stuff. And then I get back to Australia, and it's
Rushed.
It's your run-of-the-mill sports journo going, this is outrageous, it's cheating, what about the kids? I was like, sometimes it's a bit disappointing that we're so conservative, and that we're not at the cutting edge like we think we are.
Or do you think it's journalists thinking that that's what the public wants to hear? I'm just going to write to them what they want to hear.
I think it is. And what I've noticed is a very different perception from the everyday person. I've been stopped in the street, more times in the last 2 weeks than in the past 7 years since I retired. And it's people saying, good luck, can't wait to see the results. I'm interested in trying this myself one day. It's been really positive. And the other one that you spoke about before is they're door stopping swimmers and saying, well, what do you think of this? And that's a really hard position to be in. And I've been on the other side of that before, and you're kind of like, oh, I'm here, I'm in the media, I've got to give my opinion. And I'm rushed, and I haven't thought about it, I haven't read about it. And I go, oh, no, it's cheating.
Yeah.
People need to be able to sit down, digest it, think a little bit laterally, and think, all right, is this actually cheating? Are they actually racing against clean athletes? No. Is this a direct competition to the Olympics? Well, for now, no. It's a separate thing. It's going to be every year, not every 4 years. It's going to be different rules and regulations. And sometimes I do get frustrated a little bit coming back to Australia and reading some of those things. But I am very buoyed by the opinions of people that I meet in the street, because I think as Aussies, the day-to-day person, the everyday man actually is a lot more progressive than the media will have us believe.
to be clear, you're not saying that anyone swimming in the normal Olympics, the usual Olympics, the ones you have swum in, that they should be allowed to compete against other non-users. In other words, no one should be enhancing themselves in those games.
You know what? I'm actually more staunch in my opinions now that clean sport should stay clean than ever before. Because I've used this stuff
You know
now.
the difference.
I know what it does. It gives you superpowers.
Yeah.
And the fact that, and I know I was racing my whole career against certain countries, certain athletes that are pretty unashamed in using these products and cheating the system. And it actually pisses me off even more now because I've used those products now. I've seen that world and I understand how effective and efficient it can make you as an athlete. So more now than ever, I'm staunchly against performance-enhancing drugs in clean sport.
So if we could just go back now to the event, which was held at the end of February.
Yep.
That was for $1 million if whoever could break the world record,
Yeah.
right?
US
dollars, which is real money. So who's behind it? Like who's running that event as opposed to, or is it the same mob who's going to run the Enhanced Olympics? Are they different mobs?
It's the same mob.
Same group,
Same mob. In terms of officials and actually event organizers, we use the same officials that they used for the US
Timers.
Nationals
Yep.
Swimming Championships.
Yep.
We use the same pool, same officials, timers, touch pads, all the.
What about swimming outfits?
So the swimsuits. So this became a big issue, a big point of contention for me and for the games. And so when I originally said what I said I need the juice, for lack of a better word, and a suit. These Supersuits that they wore in 2009.
Yep.
Because I knew it was going to make me bigger and I needed to be floated.
Yep.
And so I really wanted one of these suits. Turns
So
out.
you might just explain it because the Supersuits, which I think Thorpe had one, as I recall.
Yeah, so they stopped wearing them in 2009.
Right.
So basically they're made from 100% polyurethane. It's thinner than a wetsuit, but basically what it did, it held you up, kept you buoyant.
On top of the water.
And kind of held you all together. So as you fatigue, your core relaxes, you start to sink in the water, you sit lower, the whole thing becomes more
And you
difficult.
feel like you're dragging a piano behind you.
Correct, particularly to 115 kilos.
Yeah.
But what happened back in 2009, they developed these really good new suits. Every single record was broken. Every single record in the swimming world was broken. The one remaining record from 2009 when they banned the suits is the 50 meters freestyle. It's the one that I was chasing. It's within reason probably the hardest record in the books because it hasn't been broken in 16 years now. The problem was when they banned these suits in 2009 that they completely stopped manufacturing. So we reached out to a couple of the companies that had manufactured those suits in 2009. They said, well, there's actually a chemical that we used in the manufacturing process, which is now banned for environmental issues. So even if we wanted to, we couldn't make the same suit again.
Wow.
And there's no real market for it. You know, I said, I want half a dozen of these, try them out.
Yeah,
practice.
they want to make 200,000 or 1 million of them.
They want to mass produce them. Yeah. So they said, we're not going to produce them. So we start scrambling, looking for these suits from 2009, 16-year-old suits.
One that might fit you.
Yeah, one that would fit me, the biggest that we could find. And we found a couple and we eyeballed them. They looked the real deal. They were the suit worn in 2009. And then we had some backups, some open water swimming suits. So in the open water, the ocean swimming, they can still wear a suit. It's not as good as the one in 2009, but it's all right. So we had a couple of those as a backup. So the night before I race in Greensboro, I've had these suits now for a couple of months, and we've said just don't touch them because they're 16 years old. We don't know how they're going to...
Oh, you didn't try them out?
Haven't tried it on. Yeah. So the night before I race, I think I tried on 3 in a row. They all break, all 3 of them.
Like the Hulk, you like split them.
Split them. And so we were left with no super suits, which was a bummer because I was of the opinion that would probably give me another second, half a second to a second. So we raced in the open water suits. As you saw, it wasn't a comfortable fit. It was the biggest size that they make, but I don't think there's ever been a swimmer that size before. So now basically for the games, I've been personally sort of putting some feelers out to manufacture my own suit. I think the games will manufacture a suit, but I'd love that. There's so much technology. I mean, with AI and you could body scan and say what materials should we use, how should we do the seams. I'm of the opinion we should be able to create something better than what was around in 2009.
And also customize it.
Custom for that person's shape, that body figure.
And just remind us, your best time at your peak period when you were competing in the Olympics, normal Olympics. What was that? 50 meters.
So 50 meters, 21.5.
And what did you go? What you do in February?
22.7. So basically, around December, I was probably a bit quicker than my fastest ever.
Right. Wow. You were.
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
And we were
you
tracking.
Do a time trial, did you?
Yeah, we were doing time trials, and we were tracking really nicely. And
could you feel yourself getting bigger beyond that point?
Yeah. And this is what happened. We spoke with the doctors, and they're monitoring everything, and they're kind of going, okay, it's tracking nicely. But once you start getting too big, it's very hard then to lose that weight leading into competition, eating in a calorie deficit.
Yeah. You
cutting down your energy levels. It's the exact opposite of what you want to be doing. It turns out that, and it's probably part and parcel of being a sprint athlete, being an explosive athlete. I was what they would call a hyper responder to these products. It boiled down to the science of it, the number of androgen receptors in your muscle that basically soak in these things and use them, and how that affects your body.
So basically what you're saying, though, is as you supply your body with more, say, testosterone, it doesn't do anything unless you've got receptors in your muscles, which are called androgen receptors, to actually grab hold of that testosterone. Otherwise, it just keeps floating around in your system, doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So your body type is one of those body types, or your cellular system has lots of androgen receptors, which means you're a hyper, I should say, not hypo, but a hyper absorber. And so your muscles get more of this juice, so-called, and build.
Yeah, and they
compared
were
to, say, a normal
basically
person.
Compared to a normal person, and they were eating it up.
Yeah,
I was waking up of a day, and I had a hunger to train. When I would start hurting myself in training, really pushing through that barrier, I wanted more and more and more. My body just Mentally, yes. Physically, more than anything. Physically, I would start to hurt and just go, I want to go again. Like, I don't know what it was.
Wow.
And it was amazing. I'd leap out of bed every morning. For 5 months, I didn't have muscle soreness. No matter what I did in the gym, no matter what I did in the pool, I'd wake up the next day and say to my coach, let's go again. Which, in hindsight, again, was another little mistake we made, because you are still human and you do still need to recover and rest at certain times. And I think I just ended up burying myself in a lot of ways as well, because physically and mentally, I was just waking up every day zoned in, didn't eat a chocolate, didn't have a drink, didn't go out past 9 o'clock. For 5 months straight, I was just militant. What you saw was a great product physically, but I didn't balance the whole preparation out properly. And that's why I believe I was swimming so fast in December, and I wasn't able to maintain that.
So isn't it just a matter of so now you know that, isn't it sort of a matter of titration? Like, you sort of say, I peaked too early.
Yeah.
You've got to be more scientific than I'm talking about. But scientifically, you might be in a position to peak much better than you did for February.
Yeah.
By the time the enhanced games comes, and you might be able to put yourself into position in terms of optimal, and you know what weight you sort of should be.
Yeah.
110 or something like that. That sounds like the sweet spot.
Probably, I think even less. I think if I can maintain that strength that I had at that 115 kilos and come in, I'd love to come in down around the 100 kilo mark.
Wow, that's a big reduction.
It's a huge difference. And with the doctors I've been speaking to, basically they've said the dosages of the products you were taking were on the low side. The biggest dosage you had at any time would have been considered potentially moderate, but mostly low dosages. And that was the end product.
But that's because because
I was a hyper responder.
Yeah, because you got a lot of receptors.
But now we know that going in and starting. So basically, we started the protocol at this level. We edged it up, and then we were like, "Oh wow, he's responding. Let's bring it back a bit." But once that weight gain really hit a certain point, it was kind of a point of no return for that preparation. This time around, the doctor's saying basically we're going to use different products, but essentially microdose you. It's just going to be this tiny cherry on top. You're going to get to peak physical condition naturally, and then we're just going to use this as the last couple of percent. Whereas before, I'd gone 7 years no training. Let's go back into full training. At the same time, I go into a full protocol. At the same time, I go completely militant with my lifestyle. And at 34 years of age, that was probably just a bit too much all at once.
So you just like peel it back a little bit. Could you just explain to me the protocol? So let's start from who do you see? Like, do you have to choose the doctor that's going to the anti-aging place, whatever it is, the doctor that you need to see? Or do they say, hey, James, this is a dude that's allocated to all the swimmers and this is the dude allocated to all the runners, whatever it is. Is that how it worked, or did you go and choose your own person?
I'm very careful. So I gave myself 3 layers. We had the enhanced doctors and their medical and scientific team. I then had a doctor on the ground in America who I'd see weekly. And then I had a doctor back in Australia and an endocrinologist back in Australia who I would consult with all 3 levels to say, is this safe? Am I tracking right? Is everything on board? And I felt like that gave me the best transparency, so that I was sure that nobody was saying, let's just give him a bit more to make him a bit faster.
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes what people look at it and they go, look what he looked like behind the blocks. He must have been taking everything. It must have been risky. It must have been, really dangerous for his health. Well, no, it wasn't. I looked like that because, and it was parcel of being the type of athlete that I was. But at all times, my health was at a peak. I was actually the healthiest I've been, probably ever. But certainly since I retired.
How much of it being so healthy or feeling so good and looking great do you think could have been just the discipline for that period of time? 7 days a week, 9 o'clock in bed, no booze, no chocolate, no shit. And just mentally psyching yourself up. Have you sort of done that?
Yeah, it was certainly a big factor. It was certainly a big factor. But the one difference was, so before I went away, I was doing some training, and the max I could do was 1 solid hit out a day. So if I did a heavy gym session in the morning, then tried to swim in the afternoon, my body was just like, no, I was cooked. I was fried. Or vice versa, if I did a heavy swim session and tried to lift that night, done. So what the protocol allowed me to do is just stack these workouts day after day without rest, without recovery.
Give an example. Can you have an example?
So overseas, I would do a 2-hour swim session in the morning, go home, have lunch.
How heavy? What are we talking now? So what are we talking? We're talking
really high intensity, high
not
effort.
Not Ks, but just efforts.
High effort, high speed, high intensity, a lot of resistance work, and that's probably. Everyone keeps asking me the secret to the lats that they saw on the photo.
When you say resistance work,
so what we'd tie like parachutes to me in the water. Resistance cords. We'd have weight stacks attached to my waist, so I'd be pulling up to like 100 kilos in a weighted pulley and swimming hard against it. And historically,
so sports specific,
yeah. And this is. It's a little bit new in swimming as well. It hasn't been done for a long time. We saw Cam McAvoy did a lot of this leading into the Paris Olympics, and it worked really well for him. So this is kind of cutting edge stuff in a way. But because I was on those protocols, this is really intense muscularly, and my body's just eating it up. And so that's contributing to me growing day after day. And so I think that type of training, again, I will alter a little bit knowing what I know now and how I respond to that training.
And we'll talk about the stack in a second, but like in terms of nutrition, what was your protein protocol? So what, because obviously testosterone is no good unless there's protein going, enough protein in the system. Yeah. What were you doing in relation to that?
So I was eating 4,500 calories a day with 300 grams of protein a day.
300 grams of protein. In other words, that's multiplied by 300. That's That's like 1,500 grams of meat or something like.
So it's shakes, it's meat, it's Greek yogurt, it's cottage cheese. Every meal is just rammed with protein.
Yeah, and what about carbs?
Carbs we weren't tracking. Yeah, we did. Well, I had a meal plan, but my main goal every day was to hit my calories and hit my protein.
Yeah.
How we filled that out, I basically, and again, this is part of being militant. My dietitian would send me my meal plan, and at times she'd say, you know, oh, there's not much variety in there. Do you want me to change it up? I just say, no. If it's chicken, rice, and broccoli for lunch, I'll eat chicken, rice, and broccoli for lunch. I don't care. And I think that's been one of my biggest strengths throughout my career, and it was really nice to get back into that mindset of I wake up and my job is to swim fast. I don't worry about businesses or relationships or responsibilities. I wake up and I swim fast. And I'll tell you, that was very refreshing as a 34-year-old who's lived life now and has a perspective on life. And life's hard. Life's stressful. To wake up again as an athlete and go through that process, man, it's amazing.
Let's talk about this, what you were taking. So,
Yeah.
and how you took it. So were you taking things like BPC 157?
Yeah, so peptides.
peptides,
yeah, a lot of my protocol was around staying injury free and reducing that muscle soreness. So peptides are a whole new world in that way.
So which can you mention which peptides you're taking?
Oh, I mean, it
Or
differed.
some of them?
It differed. Yeah, your BPCs. That was a cornerstone and something that I'll continue to take, I think, throughout my life because I had all these historical injuries and niggles, and as a swimmer, you're doing 1,000 rotations a day. It's really unnatural thing for your body. It's like running on the road and it bangs up your knees.
So just explain the BPC 157. Were you taking that in tablet form or injection?
Injection form.
Injection.
Yeah,
right.
pretty much everything I took was in injection form. It's the fastest uptake. It's the most efficient.
So when were you doing that? First thing in the morning. How does that work? You get up in the morning, start injecting yourself, or you do it during the day or at night?
Usually morning or night. So depending on what I was on what times, I might have, say 3 or 4 injections a day. Which
were they cocktails or were they just one
single things in single needles, all pre-drawn at the doctor. So I go to the doctor and pick up, say, 50 pre-drawn syringes with the right amounts in a freezer bag that you keep cold. So there's no guesswork. There's not like I'm measuring out what do I take, what do I do. It's down to the milliliter. There's no guesswork in it.
And you didn't have to. So you weren't the person drawing the whatever the compound was into the needle, where you can make a mistake, etc., or too much or not enough. It was actually everything was measured, so that someone was able to do a report on exactly what you had.
And that's what I was able to do really easily in America with these anti-aging clinics that I was going to.
So just explain those anti-aging clinics in America.
Basically, you go in, you get your bloods done, where are your hormones at. That they do everything from cosmetic things for women to chemical things for men, things like testosterone replacement, hormone replacement, peptides, PRP injections. Now over there, stem cells are becoming more popular and more widely used. So basically, when you're starting to slow down in life and feel the effects of aging, you go to one of these clinics and they no longer view it as, well, you're getting older, so you just have to deal with it. It's like, okay, there are options for you to live a more vital life, have more vitality in your life for a longer period of time.
And they're testing you all the time too to just see what the outcomes are.
Yeah.
That there's nothing deleterious.
I was doing some tests weekly, blood tests fortnightly, body scans monthly, heart checkups monthly. It was the first test I did. So after I spoke with you a year ago, I went overseas to a sports hospital and did a really in-depth full body testing.
Where was that?
I'm not allowed to say where it is because they're not fully on board yet, but it was in the Middle East.
Right.
And it was a sports hospital. And I went through heart scans, liver scans, kidneys, MRIs and X-rays on every joint in my body, scans on my brain, scans on my lungs. They inject you with this dye, and you go in an MRI machine, and they see how your body pumps blood, your heart pumps blood around your body. It's so in depth.
Is it like a pre-nuvo? Was that the pre-nuvo body scan? Is that type of thing? You might not know that, but that's pretty pretty popular in America. At the
Yeah, it could be.
Like they put in an MRI machine,
MRI,
and I went and did one in the US in LA, and I sat in it, laid in it for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's
It was
long.
pretty freaky.
Yeah.
You've got to sort of try and stay calm.
Yeah.
I
It's a
don't
little
fucking like it.
claustrophobic.
I don't like it. I didn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah.
But like I went through it just for the purpose of going through the process to see what they could find or not find.
Yeah.
So they do. So this place, the Middle East, does all that because there's some
all of it.
pretty crazy joints around the world where you can get some unreal stuff done.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know, within reason, the Middle East is probably leading the way on some of those things. And I remember sitting back, so I did all these tests. I spent 3 days doing these medicals, scans, MRIs, everything. ECG tests, you know, where you do the exercise test, they hook you up and all that stuff. I remember sitting back,
Testing your heart.
testing my heart. Yeah, a lot of it was about heart. That was their most important focus, and I think for a lot of the data they got was around the heart. How would the heart respond to these protocols, to these products, particularly in an athlete? And I sat back. I was in my hotel room. I'd finished 3 days of testing. They said, "Come in tomorrow morning. We'll give you all the results. We'll either give you the green light to participate in the games, to go through the protocols, or..."
Well, it was like a filter, was it? That the people who are running the games,
Yes.
running
Every athlete will have to do this before they sign up for the games.
Right.
So if you have any underlying heart condition, no chance.
Right.
You're not competing.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the hotel that night and I was like, oof. I was actually a bit nervous because I'd never had any of that testing done in my life before. I actually didn't know if I had a healthy heart or not. I assumed I was fit, I was healthy, but
you should know. We all should know.
I think everyone should know. You know, I was 34. You see, in certain sports around the world now, people are passing away from cardiac failure or cardiac arrest. It's really quite concerning. And I'd never had any of this testing done. So I sat back in my hotel room and thought, I just assumed this would all go ahead. I'd never really thought of the possibilities. Went in the next day and they basically said, for full bill of health, they gave me a biological age of 25, which is nice. I'm 34, 25.
That's actually quite a significant difference between 34 and 25.
Yeah. And they said, you know, you obviously haven't abused alcohol or drugs or those sort of things through your life, which has been great for your health. And we give you the green light to go ahead. And that gave me a lot of confidence in the whole process. Starting there and understanding that the concern they had for my health before I touched any performance-enhancing drugs, it gave me a lot of confidence in the process.
And what's great about that too is you've got a baseline before you touched anything.
Yeah.
And then so we did talk about BPC 157, which is basically a peptide they give in America to sort of I don't know if the FDA might have just recently banned it, but it doesn't matter.
I think it's back now.
It's back, is it?
So Robert Kennedy Jr.'s back.
Of course, and you can now take it as now you can take it as either a tablet. It's not quite as bioavailable through your stomach, but it's actually apparently quite good for your stomach.
Yeah, it is.
As it is, like repairing your stomach, and most of us need stomach repairs because what we consume, especially over the years. But that's an injectable. Did you take things like CJC, ipamorelin?
Yeah, at times, yeah. So things like CJC, things like IGF,
which is a precursor to growth hormones.
Yeah. So peptides are basically maximizing your body's its own ability to produce certain hormones or things naturally.
But it doesn't produce them.
It's not putting them into your body.
Yeah.
It's maximizing your body's natural potential, essentially.
Yeah.
These are things with, there's a lot of discussion, for example, in the UFC around should we make some of these peptides legal because our fighters are putting their body through hell.
Yeah.
Surely the least we can do is help their own bodies heal between fights, and it probably will in time be proven that it helps with some of that head trauma and cognitive function as well.
Well, they're saying, and it's interesting you brought up creatine. One of the things they're saying creatine does is really good for brain trauma.
Which is amazing, yeah.
And now it's like accepted, and I'll guarantee most UFC athletes would be, or most fight athletes, martial artists would be taking creatine of some type.
Yeah.
Because if you're getting hit in the head, punched in the head all the time. So the peptides were there was a stack that they gave you. Like what I mean by stack is like like a whole series of ones, and then do they change it at some stage to say, okay, mate, how you feeling?
Yep.
And they say, well, let's add this in or take that out.
Yeah, and beyond how you're feeling, what are your bloods telling us?
Right.
What things like cortisol levels are showing how much stress there is on the body. Different markers are showing how much muscle breakdown there is. So we're working with the medical team, the scientific team, who are saying this is what's out there, this is what's available, this is what it does, and they're conversing with the medical team, who are saying this is James's result. And then below that, there's the layer of my swim coach and my strength coach saying this is how he's performing, this is how things are working. And then to the side, you've got like your dietitian who's saying, all right, based off the feedback I'm getting from these people, this is what we're doing with diet. So it's a big team. It's a big team, and it's, at times it's a lot of opinions. It's discussing things as well, because again, you can't flip to page 50 of the handbook and say, all right, sprint swimmers have historically taken these things and got these results. A lot of the research or the studies or the data that they have is actually on bodybuilders who don't need the same athletic output as a sprint athlete does. So we were kind of forging the way on a lot of that data.
I think that's important for you to explain that, because bodybuilders are just building for shape and mass.
Correct.
Not necessarily for functionality.
Yeah.
And also efficiency. Like muscle efficiency. And what I mean is that muscle working with that muscle. They look amazing.
And the ability to clear lactate.
The
ability to deliver oxygen to the muscles. They're all byproducts of more aerobic training or anaerobic training, hard work, basically. In terms of putting on size, I mean, all those things work incredibly well. You saw the product at the end of it. There was a time there when I couldn't stop putting on weight, and I'm going, maybe we just quit this and we go enter like a Mr. Olympia or something. Like this is insane.
So what was your greatest weight gain in sort of what sort of period?
Probably the first 10 days, I gained about 5 kilos.
Whoa.
Which was just like, and I mean, naturally, it's not possible. You talk to people and they go, it's not possible. Yeah, well, I wasn't playing by the rules, so to speak. I was using these enhancements, and that just shows when you take the foot off the brake and just see what's possible, these things do what they say. And for an athlete, and who, again, I was a hyper responder, but it wasn't even like I was trying to get bigger. I was training like a 50-meter freestyle. I was training power. I was training my strength. I was training hard in the pool, resistance work. The weight was just a byproduct. It was never the goal.
And just in terms of your lifting ability, for example, I don't know if a swimmer does bench press, but do you do bench press?
Yeah, we were doing bench press
weights?
with dumbbells.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I had 115, 120 pound dumbbells, say 55 kilo dumbbells, and I was just punching out sets of 10 like it was nothing, which I don't even know if before that I would have been able to pick up a 55 kilo dumbbell. Like
that's pretty heavy.
That's the biggest one you find in a gym,
yeah,
basically. Squats, I was squatting 500 pounds, which is like 230 kilos. I was doing sets of 3 chin-ups with 60 kilos hanging around my waist, plus the 115 kilos body weight. My strength was crazy. I was jumping, throwing. All those athletic indicators were off the charts. And it was happening quite quickly.
You actually, when you first walked into the studio, this sounds, I don't know, from my imagination, but you look younger in your face.
Yeah.
Do you feel that there's been changes in the way you look? Your face, I'm talking about.
Weirdly,
your eyes.
Weirdly, I do, and it may just be an enthusiasm for life. I don't know, but I feel younger.
I can feel an energy that you didn't have. Maybe that's because a year ago you weren't that fit.
It could be.
You hadn't gone through what your body actually responds to: training, discipline, structure, eating certain things at a regular time, etc., etc., etc. It may have been then you weren't, because of the way you're living your life. I'm not saying you're a slob or anything, but relatively speaking, I just do get a sense of energy, and positivity. etc.?
I think almost when I spoke to you last time, I was excited about the opportunity, but there was an underlying trepidation around,
Yeah.
are these things actually safe? Will these games actually happen? Are the team at Enhance the real deal? And now I've been there, I've lived it, I've seen behind the scenes, I've met the people in charge, and it gave me a new spur, a new burst of energy and excitement for this project. And now I've seen the waves it's making around the world, and I've met other athletes that are competing. I've done the protocol. I've seen the results. I know it's not unsafe. It's kind of validified everything, validated everything that I suspected, and it has given me a new lease on life. And I feel like an athlete again. That's when I'm my happiest.
What about the Greek dude who broke the record?
Crazy.
What happened?
It was an amazing story.
You
So
did-
basically, Christian Golomev, he's
Doesn't sound like a Greek name to me. It sounds like
so he was
Russian.
born in Bulgaria.
Okay.
Born in Bulgaria to Bulgarian parents. His mother died whilst giving birth to him. Moved to Greece with his father. His father then passed away.
Oh, wow.
And so he's had a pretty tough go at it. And he's swum at the past 5 Olympics. At the past 2 Olympics, he's finished 5th in the 50 freestyle. So I was there in the crowd watching him at the Paris Olympics. Basically, I was in California training and preparing, and he actually had seen me on a podcast and said, I want to do the games as well. And they said, well, James is going for this record attempt.
But that's after. Sorry, he did the enhancements as well.
Yes,
But that was
yes.
after Paris.
Yeah, so he races in Paris as
Yeah.
a clean athlete. He's
Yeah.
30 years of age, so
Right.
he's 4 years younger than me. He's 30 years of age, and for all intents and purposes, he says, I'm done with my career. He sees me in a podcast and goes, oh, I don't mind the idea of this enhanced games. Gets in contact with them, he's speaking with them, and they said, well, actually, James is over in here in California right now, and he's going to have a crack at the world record in a couple of months' time. Would you like to come across and have a crack?
Do the same protocols.
Same protocols, yeah. So he comes across, starts training with me, which was a great motivator for me, because I'm like, oh, now I'm training against the 5th fastest guy in the world. Like, this is good to see where I'm at. And when I talk about how I peaked in December, he basically comes across and starts all the protocols later and stuff like that. So his timeline pushes up really nicely to the actual event in Greensboro. We get to Greensboro, and the last week or two, we weren't swimming that much together. And I knew he was in good shape. I knew he'd been doing the same training as me. He's been on the protocol only for a very short period of time, but he's got that quick upkick that I got at the start. And he wasn't going to race that week, but they said, oh, you're here, James is doing it. Why don't you suit up and see how you go? Puts a suit on, does an attempt, world record, just then and there. Nobody in the stands, no one around. We're just standing there going,
What?
did that just happen? Like, that was incredible. And so for me, it was a little bittersweet at first, because I was like, that was meant to be me. And I knew that week that
Did he win the $1 million?
he won $1 million on the
Wow.
spot. Yeah, changed his life. More money than he'd ever made in his entire swimming
Sort of
career.
nice.
It's nice. He's got a wife. He's got a young kid, Thenos. It's changed the trajectory of their life,
Yeah.
drastically. And so I was so happy for him.
Structurally, like I saw a photo of him swimming. I didn't really actually see him out of the pool. But what, is he? He's not. He doesn't have your sort of stature, does he?
He's 6'7".
Oh,
So
wow.
he's a bit taller than me.
Oh, he's taller than you.
Yeah, so I'm 6'5". He's
Yeah.
6'7".
Wow.
But so
Not as big though.
no, we were talking in pounds over there a lot. So I was 255 pounds.
Yeah.
He was about 215 pounds.
Oh, a
So
significant
40
difference.
pounds. So it's like 15, 16 kilos lighter than me.
And 2 inches taller.
And 2 inches taller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very different frames.
Yeah, that
Very
sounds
different
more.
frames.
But did he muscle up?
So throughout the process, so after he broke the world record, he continued on the protocol for the full 12 weeks, which is how long the ideal time frame is. And by the end of that protocol, he'd put on 10 pounds. But his swimming times were still out of this world.
So in other words, he put on less muscle than you, but
Yeah.
built up a significant amount of extra strength
Yes.
from
yes.
the
and that just is a product of different DNA, different genetics,
Yeah.
different types of athletes.
Yeah.
And so for him, like you said before, when I was younger, I'd sit up really nice and high in the
Yep.
water. He was still in that position. However, he had all this extra strength from that uptick that he got from the protocols. And he'd come across from the Olympics, right? So he's had nonstop, the past 15 years of training. So there was no, I need to get back into it. I need to get a feel. I need that skill acquisition phase. It was just sort of straight into it. But what it did, it was weird watching it. I was really happy for him. He's a great guy. He hasn't had it easy, and I was really happy for him.
But bittersweet.
It'd have to be the first Greek swimmer ever to break a world record.
100%.
It's insane.
I don't think it's ever happened before.
No, I don't think so either. But
not the first Bulgarian to break a record.
No, not the first Bulgarian. Yeah, and it's a very Bulgarian name he's got.
Yeah.
But his young son Thenos, that is a very Greek name.
Very Greek name. Yeah.
But it was a bittersweet moment because I was like, that was supposed to be me, and I knew by the time I got there that I wasn't swimming at my best. But what it did was, it showed the world, hey,
this works.
This works. This is the real deal. We've taken this guy from 5th at the Olympics. He's come across, and within 2 or 3 months, he's broken the world record that had been standing for 15 years. So
he broke the 2009 record.
He broke that record. That is the
Did
only
he break
one.
By
left.
much, James?
0.2.
So what are we talking about in terms of body length?
Fingernail. Yeah. It was close.
200ths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
200ths. Yeah. But no one. I mean, at the Olympic Games, I think Cam McAvoy won in say 21.2, 21.3. So Christian was about half a second faster than what won the Olympic Games within that short time frame.
And half a second's a fair bit, though.
Half a second. You're talking sort of 2 meters.
Yeah. I was going to say more than
Because
body length.
You're swimming at more than 2 meters a second. So,
but did you? I mean, I don't know if you watched him pre. Maybe you did pre the enhancements. Watched him in a race, but is it because his kick was bigger? I watched him. I didn't know what he used to look like, but was it his reach or his drive or his kick? I mean, did you look at the biomechanics?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. He got more off the start. He got more power.
So he got right out.
Yeah,
and under the water.
Under the water is not his best area.
Right.
But he got up and was stroking pretty quickly. But his last, and when you look at it as a comparison, the data, his last 15 meters was the quickest we've ever seen. So he didn't fatigue at the same rate as he was previously.
Most people were thinking 50 meters, Grant Hackett 1,500 meters. What are you talking about fatiguing?
Yeah.
Maybe you could explain that as a sprinter. What does that mean?
So 50 meters, it's 20 seconds or 21 seconds. It's the same as 200 meters on the track. So 100 meters on the track, you can pretty much put the foot to the pedal to the metal and go full bore. 200 meters, you have to be smart about it still because that's outside your ATP PC system. You're working.
In other words, your energy system.
And it's outside that pure speed energy system, and you're working into lactate production. And so that last 15 meters, that last 5 seconds of the 50 freestyle, it hurts. You have really high lactic acid levels in your blood. Things start to tighten up. Things start to hurt. And that's where it's really important to stay high in the water, stay really technical, and kind of blast through that last 15 meters. And that's where he swam faster than any other athlete in history. So
like you're saying, his last 15 meters was perhaps enhanced. Obviously enhanced compared to what he would ordinarily do. Well, certainly compared to what he did in the Paris Olympics.
Certainly. And the crazy thing with Christian was, I watched his preparation and it had been such a short time and things just stacked up so well for him. I reckon Christian could drop another half a second off that world record with a longer preparation, with now knowing what we all know about the protocols that we can and can't and should and shouldn't do, about the effects of different things. I think some of these world records are going to get shattered. So I think it's important that we start sort of talking about them as the fastest swims in history rather than world records, because these are going to start to go above and beyond what we've seen previously.
And so could I just quickly talk about testosterone, like being a steroid that you were taking. So the other stuff we talked about peptides. How do they? What sort of testosterone are you taking? Like as in TRT style testosterone, or is it they're giving you some of those bodybuilder type things? I don't even know what they're called.
No, yeah, just your more TRT type, your hormone replacement.
Just proper hormone.
We're not needing to get too freaky with it.
Yeah.
And again, you go to the doctor, you get it prescribed, you get pharmaceutical grade, and basically you feel like an 18-year-old again.
Oh, that's a great way to feel. So yeah, in terms of that, like, so let's say the range for testosterone, free testosterone in your body is, say, I think the lower range is 9, and it can go up to, the normal range goes up to sort of 25 or 28 or something like that. Were you measuring sort of way beyond that, like 45s and 40s?
No. Most of the time, so what you'll find if you take...
Did you spike or...
No, we stayed saying that in the higher range to maybe just outside that natural range.
But it was a daily dose to keep you at one level. It wasn't, would they give you a shot on
We do
Friday?
twice a week.
Twice
a week, and that kind of keeps it pretty flat. And if you tested a normal athlete who's in full training camp or full training mode, their testosterone results will actually come back as quite low, because basically your all the testosterone or the hormones you're producing is going into recovering muscles or repairing muscles, and you're constantly chipping away at it. What I had was basically high level testosterone, which a person could get to naturally, but not an athlete who's training full bore and breaking down their body, because to improve, you essentially have to break down the muscle. It repairs, it gets stronger, it gets fitter, it gets more efficient. And so athletes and my historical results were my testosterone at peak training would be quite low. Whereas this time during peak training, I had quite high levels. Therefore, I had energy. I was bounding out of bed in the morning. I felt motivated. I was able to, push harder than I had previously been able to.
So it was a good at motivation. Like, does it give you that full motivated feeling?
It gives you a thirst for life. Even mentally, in terms of like your approach to things that might rattle you normally, or things that might give you a bit of anxiety or trepidation or anything, you just blast through life.
And how did it affect your sleeping?
Sleeping longer, sleeping deeper.
Oh, you sleep better?
Yeah, more REM and more deep sleep.
So your Whoop was telling you more REM?
Yeah, I have the craziest stats on my Whoop.
So what are we talking about on Whoop now? Can we just go on sleep, for example, right?
Yeah.
So I presume you're wearing this in the water and at night, etc. And you
Yeah.
look in the morning, look at your recovery, etc.
Yeah.
What was your Whoop telling you about, for example, let's just talk of sleep. So you press on the sleep button. What was it telling you about sleep? What is it saying in terms of sleep efficiency? What was it talking about sleep in terms of your sleep duration?
Yeah.
Was it telling you in relation to deep sleep and regenerative sleep generally, which includes REM sleep as a percentage of your total? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah, so I stacked up leading into that Christmas period where I said I was really peaking physically. I stacked up about 6 weeks straight of 100% sleep efficiency, which was just crazy. I was getting about 4.5 hours of regenerative sleep per night.
4.5 hours?
So that's a combined of REM and deep sleep, so almost 2 hours.
You know what mine was last night? Combined? 1.5 hours.
Wow.
Because I didn't get home really late and I was all wound up and from work and I had to get up early, etc. But and it freaks you out, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah,
it
what
does.
the fuck?
Yeah, it does.
And you want to share it with someone, you want to show someone.
And what other stats were good? So
what about HRV, for example?
So my HRV was getting up over 200
No.
times. Yeah. It was probably averaging out there around the 160 to 180.
I mean, I was talking to James Tedesco the other day, the rugby league player, and he tells me he gets up to 140, 150.
Yeah.
But 200?
Yeah. And this is, I would like to work with Whoop because I don't know if they've seen numbers like this before.
I guarantee not.
My resting heart rate was 28.
No.
Yeah. And I've got all the data.
Fuck.
Yeah.
28.
28. So when I was competing, I did used to have quite a low resting heart rate. Say,
So so just so people know, this is your heart rate when you're asleep. So
this is the average of your heart rate across that sleeping period. So at times it was dipping down to like 24.
No.
But the average across the night, 28, which is...
Like if I get a 50, I'm happy.
Yeah. I mean, I remember hearing about Lance Armstrong. I can't remember the numbers, but I know he was in the 20s. I don't... It's not something that athletes talk about a lot.
But it's got a lot to do, not just with enhancements. It's got a lot to do with your general fitness and health.
Yeah. And like I said, the lifestyle. I mean, I was eating, sleeping, recovering. Everything was perfect. There was no alcohol. There was no chocolates. So
could I ask you? So just on the Woober, what was your respiratory rate? Do you know the number of breaths?
It was about 14.8, which I don't think is that extraordinary.
No, I'm about that. So I'm about 14 point something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't come down.
It didn't come down. Oh, that's interesting.
At all. No. Yeah,
but it didn't move around either.
Hey?
It didn't go 16, 12. It was
pretty consistent. Yeah, it was pretty consistent. But my heart rate variability, I mean, when I first went over there, if I got up to 100 heart rate variability, it would be telling me, your recovery is perfect. Go hard today. It just tracked in a linear progression, up.
You must have been getting green every day.
Yeah, and the only reason it stopped tracking up was because I finished in Greensboro. I came home and sort of relaxed and stopped training a bit.
Yeah, just because you're still wearing it. Is there much difference? You're not. Are you still doing the enhancements, whatever you call it?
No, I'm not.
So you're off.
Yeah,
you're off everything.
Yeah.
So what difference do you see now?
Resting heart rate about 44.
Yeah.
Heart rate variability max at the moment, I think, has probably been 120 is the biggest I've seen.
Yeah, that's still pretty good, but yeah,
it's not bad. But the numbers we were getting, and I mean, and again, it's measures of health, right?
Yeah.
Like I was as healthy as anyone's ever been in history, I think.
Yeah, ridiculously healthy.
Ridiculous. So at one stage, I had to go and redo the test where they inject you with the dye. You go on the MRI and they see how your blood's pumping around your body. And we had to redo it twice because my heart was pumping so slow. It's almost going one beat every 3 seconds. They're going, we just can't track it properly because it's so low. And then they wanted to do these tests in LA up at the hospital. And they said, we can't send him up to the hospital, a general hospital in LA, because if they see his resting heart rate is below 30,
they think he's going to die.
They'll resuscitate him.
They think something wrong with him.
They'll put the paddles on.
Yeah.
And so, but they're all sitting back, and the cardiologists and the endocrinologists involved, and they're going, this is amazing. We were so worried about his heart health. His heart's more efficient. It's stronger. It hasn't thickened. His blood hasn't thickened. We're watching it in live time. This is one of the healthiest hearts we've ever seen. When everything we were being told beforehand was, if you do performance-enhancing drugs, your heart's shot. You're going to have a heart attack at 50 years of age.
And I think, I'm by no means, I'm a, what do you call it, civilian scientist.
Bro science.
Yeah, bro science. But I think you said something quite interesting before. Everything you were doing, you were dosing at the low end.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe sure, like everything. If maybe one glass of wine's not too bad for you, but if you drink 10, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
Etc.
And I think it'd be great that the conversation around these products should be. It's not about the use of them; it's about the misuse.
Yeah.
Because people abuse anything, right? Like if you make alcohol illegal, people can't drink. You make it legal, some people are going to drink 100 beers, some people are going to be sensible. Any drug in history has had misuse or abuse. And that's when people want to push the limits and get too big or too strong or, bodybuilders, different sports. But what they're doing with enhanced is rather than doing drug testing before you're allowed to compete, you have to do this full in-depth health analysis. And if you're not healthy because you've been abusing performance-enhancing substances, you're out. You just can't compete. And so suddenly it's this whole new world of we don't want the cleanest athletes. We want the healthiest athletes standing behind the blocks. And what that should produce is the fastest athletes as well. That should be a byproduct of having the healthiest athletes. We've also got the quickest athletes.
Can you remind me again who's behind this, like the individuals?
So Aaron D'Souza is the founder. You've got Peter Thiel.
Maybe you could just tell me a little bit about Aaron D'Souza.
So Aaron was from America. He worked for Peter Thiel. He was a lawyer. He's now He's worked in venture capital and different things. He's based in London, but now the whole games has moved across to New York. So basically, since I was here last, there was an election, a new leadership. Donald Trump Jr. and his venture capital firm invested quite heavily in Enhanced. Donald
So
came
this
out.
is an entity. Enhance is actually a business.
A business. Yep. Donald Trump came out and endorsed the games and said he wanted them to be held in America. So Enhance packed up all their operations, moved everything to New York. They've since announced that the games will be held in Las Vegas, which is
Perfect.
awesome. Perfect. Yeah. And now it's got the support of the American government, which is
Wow.
basically the green light you need to run an event like this. You know, there's a lot of politics in the world. There's a lot of politics in sport. There's different federations and commissions and governing bodies. But, you know, within reason, once you got the support of certain people, then you can do whatever you want.
It sounds like a business to me, though. Something's going to come out of this is going to become a business.
So what I couldn't understand, right? I was sitting back and, Peter Thiel invested. There was, so a couple of families, private equity families from the Middle East, princes and stuff investing. And I thought, I think it's a great concept. I think it could do a really big audience. You'd sell tickets. I think the broadcast numbers would be solid. But why are they investing? They've got billions of dollars in funds invested into this. Why do they need that much money? And what's the return on that? It didn't make sense to me. So they announced while they're in Vegas that Enhanced Limited will do direct-to-consumer products, where basically...
Sorry, James. Enhanced Limited, that was the entity that owns the Enhanced games.
Yeah,
right.
They will do direct-to-consumer products.
Have they said when?
You can sign up now, and it'll launch over the next couple of months.
So there's a wait list.
Yeah, a wait list. And to my understanding, it will be you go to your local doctor, you do your bloods, you send your results off to Enhanced, and they will custom make a protocol based off your personal...
only in America, they're not here.
Only in America for now, which is the biggest market in this space. I think eventually it will be global, but for now, the jurisdictions of different countries are too strict, so it'll start in America. What I'd like to eventually do is, I'd love to do it with Enhanced. Could we do a missile stack or
totally.
What does that look like? But once I heard that, I was like, okay, this is a sporting event to promote an industry.
Yeah.
This is the anti-aging industry. That's what I'm getting into here.
It's a launch. They're launching an anti-aging brand called Enhanced.
And if the way I kind of think about it, I sat back and I thought about it deeply. I guess Red Bull is a product. They've always run sporting events and sponsored athletes. Red Bull's always been the product, but they don't super heavily promote that product. You just know it's the Red Bull X Fighters or the Red Bull dirt bikes or whatever it is, and they don't go that heavy on the actual branding of a can of Red Bull.
Yeah.
But that Red Bull's a product involved with these sports, and that for a lot of...
But the biggest events, they're big events that they sponsor.
Yeah, and that drives all the consumers to their product. This for the anti-aging space, for that whole world, you'll see Enhanced and go, wow, look at these amazing athletes, and that will filter into the product.
So maybe you can just give us a bit of a sense of what goes on in the US, but USA, when it comes to anti-aging, is sort of out of control. And I mean in a good way. Like it is so focused on anti-aging compared to, say, what we have here.
Yeah.
It's just mental.
Yeah.
What are some of the experiences that, in this little journey that you've just gone through over the last, say, 4 or 5 months, whatever it is, probably a year? What do you think about, we're moving away from the Enhanced games, what do you think about the whole anti-aging game as such? Because really this should be called the anti-aging games.
Yeah.
And that's a game that's perpetual. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
As every generation, your generation, my generation, none of us want to die.
Yeah.
We all want to live longer.
Yeah.
That's probably, the youth elixir has been sought after for a long time. Maybe finally someone's going to maybe get closer to discovering it.
I think we're getting closer. I think the really interesting thing has been, these are really big, really powerful people involved with these games. And the more people I've met, it almost feels like the more wealth you've accumulated across the years, the more you realize, okay, the one thing that I can't buy now
It's time.
is time. And that's what everybody wants.
And optimization during the time.
Yeah,
So
an ability to have energy till your last breath.
And if what you're saying is correct, and let's say I could get 50% of it, of that energy and that feeling and that optimism and that ability to wake up in the morning and want to go training or whatever it is. Because right now when I wake up and go training, I'm going training. No, I don't swim, but I go training to do what I do because I have to. And because I think, oh, fuck, you better train today, Mark, even though I feel like jack shit this morning. And I look at I had a red circle, and I still went because I'm thinking I've got to do it to maintain my position, like physically and mentally, etc.
Yeah.
But if be unbelievable, because sometimes if you have a great sleep, like let's say I wake up on a Sunday morning because I had a great sleep Saturday night, and maybe let's say I slept 8 hours, I train so much better.
Yeah.
And then when I train so much better, I feel so much better. Imagine if you could do that every day of the week.
Yeah. And never feel tired, never feel sore.
Especially my age. I would I don't give a damn. As long as I know it's safe.
Yeah.
And there's someone scientifically is monitoring it, managing it, and sort of looking at my bloods and doing everything. Because I'm not competing against it. I don't care. I don't care if I'm enhanced.
Yeah.
Because someone might say, "Well, go and eat these sorts of fruits and vegetables." It's the same deal. They're all chemicals and molecules, and nature's made. They're all come from some. They're not sort of being plucked out of the out of the stratosphere somewhere.
No.
They're here.
Yeah,
they're being
created
made
for a reason.
They're
And when you break it down to a cellular level, any problem is fixable. And in time, I think we will cure aging, which is really exciting. It's one of the few things, and this may be a product of being an athlete. My identity has always been intrinsically linked with being big, fast, strong,
healthy.
That's
vital.
Me. That's who I am. And as I'm only in my mid-30s, which is by no means old, but as I see that next phase of life coming, it actually scares me a bit because it's like, all right, if I'm not the big, fast, strong guy, who am I?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't go to university. I haven't spent my life in the business world. Who am I beyond this career? And how do I stay that larger than life guy who's big, fast, strong, healthy?
How do I maintain my identity and relevancy?
Yeah. And I see it a lot it's happened a lot in swimming over the years. People have faced this existential crisis when they retire because they lose it. They're no longer the big, strong, fast guy. They're no longer the swimmer. They feel different in themselves, and they turn to, different things to fill that void. And it's caused a lot of problems for a lot of athletes in retirement.
Did you follow on with various protocols people like Brian Johnson?
Yeah.
So what do you think of those sorts of people? Because they're not athletes, but they are. Here's a walking experiment.
Yeah. He's almost more at the cutting edge than what we were doing.
Yeah.
Stuff we're doing, he did probably a decade ago, and he's pushing the boundaries. And at times he's finding things don't work.
Yeah.
Which is also must be quite scary in and of itself. But if you don't have pioneers like that who are pushing the boundaries of what's possible, then you're not going to make medical advancements, because otherwise they're just testing these things on, animals.
Mice.
But
why do you think he's so divisive? Like, so many people, a lot of people really love him and follow him, and a lot of people just rip. Why do you think that? You must have had some time to reflect on this stuff.
Yeah, and I think the industry as a whole, at the moment, carries some connotations around this is rich men wanting to live longer, and there's a little bit of animosity towards that concept. And when you think about the people that are at the forefront of this space in America, and you talk about your Dana Whites and your Donald Trumps, strong personalities, strong men, successful men.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. And again, this enhanced games is about breaking down some of those stigmas. Here's some athletes. Here's how they're responding. Here's their health metrics. This isn't sketchy stuff. People jump down Joe Rogan's throat when he speaks about testosterone or anything like that. But it's a new world.
Yeah, but it's interesting. You're prepared to sort of right along with it mainly because you've tested it. It hasn't really didn't do any damage to you that you can see. And then, of course, you've had it double checked by various layers.
Yeah.
What about things like, I'm at an age where you see a urologist every 6 months for your prostate. What about things like testosterone in your prostate? Do you have to consult a urologist about this stuff?
I haven't had to yet.
Do you do any PSA testing, all that sort of
Just
stuff?
because of my age and my
not an
general
issue.
health, it hasn't been front and center.
Do you think maybe
Yeah.
do you get worried though, James, that 5 years time you fucking grow another tit or something like do you think this of shit maybe it's going to be delayed?
I have thought about that, and I have thought about fertility and having kids. You know, I'm 34. I don't have any kids.
Do you get those things tested, like sperm tests, etc.?
Yeah.
That's part of the protocol of testing. Yeah.
Yep. And basically, whenever I have fears or questions like that, I've got access to the top medical professionals in the world. So I don't sit back and spend time, or I've never lived my life about what if or should I or shouldn't I. I just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, well, what about,
You don't ruminate on it.
No.
Just ask.
I'm quite pragmatic, and I'll just ring my cardiologist in the Middle East and say, hey, I know my heart's healthy now, but could something come up? And he'll just sit down there and he'll give me the facts. Well, based on every bit of data we have on you so far, absolutely not. Your heart got healthier. So what would happen from a chemical level? Like if we sit back now, I'm on nothing. I have a baseline health now. I'm very healthy right now. From a chemical level, what would happen now in after the fact that would cause your heart any stress? From a biological standpoint, there's nothing.
So
really
they're giving you scientific deductions.
They're telling me the science. Yeah.
As opposed to you or I sitting around sort of worrying about shit that we might have saw on a sci-fi movie or something, or read in a book, or got heard from the background noise of someone at a gym like 20 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
So just to close off, so when you kick off your training again for the enhanced games, which is May next year.
May next year.
So when do you just start the serious training?
So I'm in talks right now with a couple of different options of places to go and train and do the protocol again.
Back in America, though.
America's an option. There's some options in the Middle East.
But not here.
I'd love to be able to, above and beyond anything else, I'd love to be able to do it in Australia.
Where were you from? Are you a Queenslander? Because
I'm from Port Macquarie.
Port Macquarie. Because a lot of Queensland's killing it at the moment. Like they've been doing so well because the pools and the infrastructure is great up there.
Yeah.
So it'd be great if you could train in the Gold Coast.
It'd be amazing. Basically, the way that the current federation stand is, I wouldn't be allowed to train with current athletes.
Really?
Yeah.
Or because something might come into your skin in the pool or something. Why not?
I don't know. I think it's almost more a moral or ethical standpoint than anything.
Don't pollute our good cattle.
Yeah, something like that. So I need to go back overseas, and for the protocol as well. Again, maybe there is a doctor I could find in Australia that would be able to do everything that I wanted, but
you probably get deregistered pretty quickly.
Yeah, and to put your name to James Magnussen, who's in the enhanced games, that's difficult in itself. So I'm looking at my options. I'll probably have to go overseas, but I'm kind of at peace with that. I'm just so excited this time around. I'm coming in. We've got a date. We've got a location. There's other athletes. We've got a world record. We've got protocols. So this time it's the games are inevitable, and I want to be the story of the games. I've done the protocol. I got the result I got in Greensboro, but I think that makes for a really cool story when I turn that around in 12 months' time.
So and just finally on that, why? You mentioned the Middle East a few times. It's interesting. It's not something we normally associate with the Middle East, and you've been very careful not to disclose which part of the Middle East, and it's a big place. But the Middle East seems to be knocking on the door of every sport and every sort of thing, like boxing, tennis, soccer, golf, obviously. Just about everything. I've even heard there's been talks about rugby union.
Wow.
So, and I didn't even know they would have swimming facilities over there that someone like you needs to have. You need a
Yeah.
50-meter pool. You need,
Yeah.
a proper pool, proper depth,
Yeah.
the whole thing, like a proper Olympic style pool,
Yeah.
coaches,
Yeah.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had that sort of stuff there.
Yeah, they have amazing facilities. I think some of those countries are pushing to host those big international events like World Championships or Olympic Games or something similar. So they have those facilities there. And the same as those names I mentioned in America, some of those guys in the Middle East with high net worth don't want to age, that they want to slow this process. So they want to be involved in the enhanced movement in that industry, and supporting athletes is one of the ways they can do that.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching you as an Australian bring it home for us. Like I always back every Australian, every competition. I don't give a damn what the competition is. Well, I do, but enhanced games doesn't bother me too much. There would be some competitions I wouldn't back, but that one I'm very happy with, particularly in the swimming. James Magnussen, thanks very much. Good luck, mate, in the enhanced games. Good
Thanks
to see
a
you.
lot.
You look
Good to see
great.
you. Thank you.